on, brother. So, Nick Khan was on, I don't know what show it was. Where are we here? Oh, SBJ on Stage. He basically claimed, you guys remember Wrestlemania 40? He claimed that the way things ended up going at WrestleMania 40 were always how they were always supposed to go. He says this was, of course, the show that ended up with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, where Cody beat Roman to finish his story, and they also did the Reigns and Rock versus Rhodes and Seth Rollins match for the first night. So he claimed the plan was always how it ended up in Philly 2 years ago. Sometimes it's a predetermined outcome in wrestling. You want to throw the fans off, you want to let things bake, and then boom, it ends up the way you wanted it to end up. It never changed, he said. That was just online rumors and gossip that we were changing. It never changed. We convinced Dwayne Johnson to come back. He's on our board of directors. It was a tag team match. He's about the same age I am, so 2 years ago, let's say he was 50. He was obviously in phenomenal shape. He did everything we asked of him, and then some. But that was always the result we were looking for. So keep in mind that this was the show where, like, they actually had some big, like, they had this big thing. I'm trying to remember all of how it went down, but, like, Cody won the Royal Rumble, if I recall, and then I think that they were considering doing like an injury angle where he would be taken out of WrestleMania altogether. He wasn't going to be on the WrestleMania card, and then there was like that I think he showed up and endorsed The Rock on SmackDown or something like that, and then everybody turned, and whatever the whole situation was, like, they actually did. WWE produced a documentary which basically backed up everything that had been reported at the time about what they were going to change and what the fans ended up wanting and how they changed it back. They actually did a documentary about all this. Now this guy's coming on and saying, it's all part of the show. It was never going to change. It was exactly how we wanted it to end up. So anyway, that was quite the whopper there. The claim that it went exactly how they wanted it to go. So, yeah. And then we have this one, which I found very interesting. So George Barrios, who is a former co-president of WWE, he has written a book. Sometimes wrong, but never in doubt, how a Cuban kid from Queens transformed WWE. So he's writing a lot about WWE. So he talks about, in January of 2018, WWE announced its 10-year deal with the General Sports Authority of Saudi Arabia to run events in the company. The deal marked its start with the Greatest Royal Rumble. So this would have been January, okay, January 2018. In October 2018, the whole situation with Washington Post contributing columnist Jamal Khashoggi occurred. He entered the Saudi Arabian consulate in Turkey. He never exited. CIA later concluded Khashoggi had been murdered on orders from Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Sanctions were imposed on 17 Saudis, but not bin Salman. And so anyway, this happened in October, okay? So they signed the deal in January. The Khashoggi thing happens in October. So George Barrios writes, our negotiations dragged on because these Saudis are notorious hagglers. By 2018, despite having made great progress, we were struggling to get the deal over the finish line. Complicating matters, he says, was the disappearance of Saudi journalist and dissident Jamal Khashoggi. So he writes, this is George Barrios. He says, as outraged as I was by what happened, I still defy anyone to argue that they understand who was truly at fault. All I know is that on our end, Khashoggi's disappearance called into question our deal with the Saudis. Okay, that's what he says. But then he says, they had an event November 2nd, which was exactly a month after Khashoggi disappeared. He says that while major backlash surfaced and many other companies had pulled out of Saudi Arabia, WWE decided to do the planned event. And George Barrios wrote in his book, Vince McMahon, Michelle Wilson, and I spent a great deal of time debating the pros and cons of moving forward. Vince in particular, he says, was deeply uncomfortable with the uncertainty surrounding the event. So this is not Vince's side of the story. This is George Barrios. He says, in my opinion, we could not walk out of the deal. It was too worthwhile for WWE, but Vince kept shaking his head. This thing with Khashoggi, Vince said, doing the deal could be the biggest risk we've ever taken with the company. Vince, listen to me, I said. I understand how serious this is, but no one really knows what's going on. And so George Barrios, in his own book, is claiming that Vince was very concerned about the idea of running this event in Saudi Arabia, and Barrios is the guy that convinced him we got to do it. So anyway, I was fascinated to read that George Barrios in his own book took credit for pushing Vince to run that event a month after Khashoggi was murdered. But that's what George Barrios says in his own book. So anyway, he ended up becoming, he was co-president with Michelle Wilson in 2008, and both of them were let go in January of 2020. And, of course, WWE since expanded the partnership with Saudi Arabia. And, hey, as of right now, they are still going to Saudi Arabia at the end of June. Have you grabbed your F4WOnline.com shirt yet? Well, we got a bunch of them. They're up in the store right now. F4WOnline.com/shirts. You can grab your -5 stars shirt, your Dave Meltzer Wrestling Observer shirts, even the brand new After Dark Radio shirt. You love Granny? We have Granny's Gang shirts. Have you ever won a shoot battle royal? Probably not, but you can tell people you did. So check out the store, all of these great shirts and more. It's through Pro Wrestling Tees, F4WOnline.com/shirts. That's F4WOnline.com/shirts.